Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here today for another one of my showdown videos as promised. The Nikkor Z 50mm f1.8 S is, in my mind, the hidden gem of their f1.8 S line series of lenses, which is pretty unique in all of photography that I've ever seen before, in that there is a premium lineup of lenses with a maximum aperture of f1.8. This lens has been around for a while, however, and a much newer contender just coming to market right now is the new Viltrox 55mm f1.8 from their EVO series. Now, it claims to be an apochromatic lens, and if you've seen my review of it, you know this is a very good lens optically. And while Nikkor doesn't make any kind of similar claim for the 50mm f1.8 S, in many ways I feel like it has something similar to an apochromatic design with the fantastic control of chromatic aberrations, amazing contrast. It just optically punches at a level higher than the other f1.8 S line lenses, having great contrast and still retaining very nice rendering at the same time. It's a lens that I remain impressed with. But the question is can the new contender dethrone it? Well, that's what we're here to explore today, and I'm going to take you through a variety of different categories. I've been working for a while on this and shooting all kinds of various head-to-head comparisons and trying to find little details in between. And frankly, it's been a bit of a challenge, but I'll show you my results as we jump in today. We're going to look at 4 different categories. We're going to look at when it comes to build and features, price, things like that. We're going to take a look at autofocus performance. We're going to look at video performance and optical performance and see who comes out at the winner in the end. Let's start by taking a look in the build and handling category. So when it comes to price, Viltrox is going to jump out to the lead here, as they almost always do in these comparisons, because they price their lenses so aggressively. So this lens has an MSRP of $370 US, whereas the Nikkor lens comes right under $670 US. And so we're talking about a $300 difference between the two. Now, obviously with the Nikkor lens, there's going to be a little bit more play there because it's been out for a while. Could be on sale, used market, all of those things, but we're just looking at MSRP for this particular comparison, and the gap is big enough that I'm confident in calling the Viltrox a winner there. So 1 point for Viltrox. As you can see also, it takes a win when it comes to the size. It is 69 millimeters in diameter by 78 millimeters in length, whereas the Nikkor lens is 76 millimeters in diameter. That's a pretty significant kind of scaling up of the barrel size, and it is 86.5 millimeters in length. And so again, we're talking about nearly 9 millimeters in overall length there as well. And so it definitely is a bigger lens all around. And if you look at the two lenses side by side, it kind of looks like the Nikkor is in a little bit bigger a class of lens than what the Svelte little EVO lens is. The EVO lens, however, because it has a little bit more of a dense build quality, it actually is lighter, but not by as much as what you would expect looking at the two lenses. It weighs in at 385 grams or 13.6 ounces compared to 415 grams or 14.64 ounces for the Nikkor lens. And so, you know, only 30 grams different. That's not necessarily as much as what you would expect. It also is the winner when it comes to the feature set. It's got a very robust, that's part of what I love about the EVO series, is that it's got a surprisingly robust feature set for a compact and inexpensive series of lenses. We've got the full aperture control with the traditional aperture ring. You can use it either clicked or declicked. It's got a custom or function button. It's got an AF/MF switch. It's got a USB-C port for firmware updates, all of that stuff. The Nikkor lens, well, it's got an AF/MF switch, and it doesn't even have a secondary control ring. And so if you want to control aperture with the ring, you're going to have to do that at the expense of not having manual focus unless you actually switch into manual focus. So no full-time manual focus override. And so it's really limited in the feature category, and so definitely another win for the Viltrox. Seems like Viltrox is cleaning up so far with 4-0, but let's keep going. Wait a second, it's another win for Viltrox. And when it comes to manual focus, the Viltrox's manual focus ring is smoother, at least in the copies I'm comparing here, but more importantly, when you actually go to manual focus, the Nikkor lens feels like it moves more in like little focus chunks. It sticks a little bit in the process, and so it makes some noise as you manually focus. In fact, if I play this back here, you can probably hear it. can see that as I'm manually focusing, there's just a little bit of noise going on there. None of that happens with the Viltrox. It's a more smooth and linear focus process, and so I definitely prefer that. But now Nikkor is going to get onto the board with a few wins of its own. First of that is when it comes to the minimum focus distance. The Viltrox is rated at a minimum focus distance of 43 centimeters. The Nikkor lens is at 40 centimeters, so it's winning there. And as far as the stated magnification, the Viltrox's listed magnification, which I think is actually an error, as we're going to see here in a moment, is listed at just 0.10 times, whereas the Nikkor is 0.15 times. So if you're taking those numbers, you should see a big difference between the two. Is that what you see? Actually, no. They're actually very, very close, though there is a slight edge for the Nikkor, and you can see from these images they look very similar. If I throw them side by side, I scale it to where they're perfectly lined up, you can see that the Nikkor is giving you just a percentage of a point extra magnification, but they actually play out very, very similar. However, the Nikkor lens can focus more closely, and it gives you just a slight edge there. So we're going to give a point to there. Now, when it comes to the kind of your aftercare, I'm going to give a point to Nikkor there because they have a well-established customer service network around the world. They have more options when it comes to repair or replacement, and so they just have a more robust aftercare support. And that's not something that I always evaluate quite as much as what I should, and that's partly on me, because I'm not an ordinary consumer most of the time at this point. I have a relationship with almost all of these lens makers, and so if I ever have a problem, I just tell them, and of course they're very quick to address it when it comes to me. You may not get that same level of care, and so I do want to point out that it's sometimes safer to buy a first-party lens because they have that more robust network. A few other things are very similar. Both of them have 9 aperture blades, do roughly similar things with those blades. Both of them are weather sealed designs. They have gasket at the lens mount, and both of them have about 7 seal points inside the lens themselves. They have roughly similar levels of build, though I will say that the EVO lens actually feels a little bit more upscale. It feels like it's a mix of some metals and then the engineered plastics, whereas the Nikkor lens does feel maybe a hair more plasticky of the two. And so, but I think the build quality is actually roughly equal between the two. Another kind of neutral difference here is that the Viltrox has a 58mm filter thread and the Nikkor lens has a 62mm thread. I don't know that that's necessarily a win. Those for one or the other. I mean, those filters are going to price out roughly similar, and maybe if you have lenses that share the 62mm, that's an advantage. If you have lenses that share the 58mm, that's an advantage there. So we'll just call that a draw at that point. So leaving this category, that leaves us with a total of 5 points for the Viltrox lens and just 2 points for the Nikkor lens. So after the first category, Viltrox has jumped into the lead. But how about round number 2? Let's talk about autofocus. Again, we'll start with some similarities because there's actually more similarities than differences here. Both of them have STM or stepping focus motors. Both of them focus quietly. Both of them focus accurately in my test. I'm testing on a Nikon Z8 body. I got very accurate results with both of them. I couldn't necessarily tell a difference. However, when I did some formal test, while they are very, very close, I did feel like the Nikkor was maybe a hair faster in autofocus. It's not significant at all. I don't know that I would make my decision based on that alone. However, I think that it does have a very slight edge, so I'm going to give a win to it there. I also will point out that as a first-party lens, it's going to make the most of what it has. It has that first-party algorithm support. You're never going to have to worry about in the future having to rely on a firmware update that hopefully addresses some kind of change to a new camera or a firmware update to the camera itself. Being a first-party lens, I'm going to give it another point there just for that basic advantages that come from having a first-party lens. And so after this category, the gap has closed a bit, and we're going to give still 5 points for the Viltrox lens, but now up to 4 points for the Nikkor lens, and so things have tightened up a bit. Now moving into our third category, we're looking at video performance. And some of the tests that I like to do include things like doing touch to focus to see how those actual focus transition goes. And if I force bigger transitions, it allows me to evaluate things like focus breathing. You can see here from the Nikkor lens that while the actual focus process is about similar between the two, neither of them show any kind of obvious steps. I didn't see any kind of hunting or pulsing or settling, but what I did notice in the actual process is that with the first-party Nikkor lens, every time I touched, it moved to do what I wanted. Whereas with the Viltrox lens, sometimes there was a lag. I would touch, and I thought it wasn't going to do anything. It would, pause for a second or two, and then focus transition would start. And so you can definitely tell which is the first-party lens in terms of just the overall responsiveness of the process. So a win for Nikkor there. You might have also noticed a second win category for the Nikkor lens, and that is when it comes to focus breathing. When it comes to focus breathing, there is a little bit less of it. And of course, if you have a camera that has any kind of focus breathing compensation, the first party Nikkor is going to get the benefit of that compensation, whereas the third party Viltrox is not. Outside of that, however, the behavior was very, very similar. I found both of them to be very stable. I've used them both for filming in video episodes. They're stable, they're reliable. And so in general, both of them do a great job. I just give a couple of wins to the Nikkor in that category. And so now the Viltrox has been holding steady at 5 points, but we're up to a total of 6 points for the Nikkor lens at this point as we go into our last category. So finally, the big one, probably the one where most of you are most interested in. Some of these other differences, particularly when it comes to the build, feature set, you can tell that just by looking at the listing. But how about the actual performance? I did a lot of different comparisons along the way with these lenses, trying to determine which is the winner, and frankly, it was tough. So first of all, starting off with the vignette and distortion, as I shot my chart for this, what I found is that the Nikkor, neither of them have much distortion at all. However, the Nikkor did have a bit that I needed to correct for, a little bit of barrel distortion, and so I needed a +3 to correct, whereas the Viltrox lens was basically completely neutral, requiring 0 correction. So there's a win for Viltrox. However, on the vignette side of things, both of them, if left uncorrected, have heavy amounts of vignette. However, it is heavier for the Viltrox than what it is for the Nikkor. I needed to dial in a +85 to manually correct the vignette. For the Nikkor lens, I needed to dial in a full 100 slider all the way for the Viltrox lens. And so both of them are not great in this category. However, the Nikkor is slightly better, so a win for it. Now, when it comes to evaluating things like just sharpness, I can't really give a winner to either one because frankly, it was some give and take depending on where I looked on the test chart. In the center of the frame, I felt like while it was extremely close, I felt like the Nikkor was ever so slightly sharper in the center of the frame. In the mid frame, they were basically equal. I couldn't tell a winner. In the corners, however, the Viltrox was obviously better. And so, in that case, looking at that at f1.8, I also checked back in at f2.8, and you can see the same pattern basically holds, that the looks a little bit better in the center of the frame for the Nikkor. The edges definitely still favor the Viltrox lens. And so both of these lenses are extremely sharp and extremely high contrast, and I really can't call a winner between the two. Likewise, when I looked at contrast results in a variety of three-dimensional settings, I found that the contrast results were basically the same between the two lenses. There really wasn't an advantage that I could tell, and anytime I thought I saw an advantage, if I looked closer, there's just the tiniest depth of field perception at high levels of magnification that might favor one or the other, but in terms of the raw contrast, they delivered basically the same. Likewise, when it came to fringing, I did a lot of different fringing tests, and what I found is that both of these lenses are awesome. On the test chart, no problem there, but more importantly, out in three-dimensional situations, I found that with my dad's old SLR, both of them are showing basically no fringing. I shot a lot on guitar strings because I found that that can cause some issues. Neither one of them were showing any kind of issue there. I tried shooting just water droplets on the top of something. Again, about similar results. Everywhere that I looked, I even shot on the knobs on the oven because they're shiny and can cause a lot of fringing. Neither one of them would take the bait. They just did awesome across all of those. Likewise, when it came to color, I was surprised that when I equalized, sometimes there'd be a minor difference in the white balance, from one image to the other. But if I equalized the white balance, I felt like the colors were basically identical. If you take a look at this shot of the guitar, for example, if I were to take the labels off there, I don't know that any of you would be able to realistically tell one from the other. And so they seem to be very, very similar in that regard as well. However, when I began to examine bokeh quality, I did see a few patterns. And again, there's some give and take, but I'm going to give out a few awards here because I think that there are some areas that will be a win for one or the other. In terms of the general rendering, I'm going to give a slight win to the Viltrox. While the two lenses are similar, because of that slightly longer focal length, in a similar situation, you're going to get a slightly softer background from that. And I also felt just in general, even when I tried to equalize for the difference, and so I moved the camera a little bit closer when I was shooting with the Nikkor, even then I felt like the general softness was just a little softer for the Viltrox lens. And so the general rendering, general look of images I liked better. And then also as I looked more detailed at the softness, I felt like there was a little less hard edges for the Viltrox lens, so a little bit softer. However, one area where the Nikkor lenses always stood out to me, and I did again in this comparison, is when I looked at the corners. It feels like the Nikkor lens, kind of like the Plena, is really engineered all the way out to the corners. And what I found is that the bokeh quality near the edges, it was just smoother to me than what I saw from the Viltrox lens. When it came to the bokeh geometry, both of them look basically the same. They have almost the same shape. Both of them show just a little bit of busyness inside, bokeh highlights, specular highlights, but there's not really a winner either way. They both looked more similar than different. And so that leads me to adding up the totals after this round. Now we are up to having a total of 8 points for the Viltrox, and guess what? 8 points for the Nikkor lens as well. That brings me to my conclusion. This is, frankly, one of the toughest comparisons that I've ever done because both of these lenses are incredibly competent. It's not like one was able to establish any kind of clear win over the other. And so I'll break it down this way. If you're looking at a pure value proposition, I would say the Viltrox takes the win. It's smaller, it's lighter, it's cheaper, it's more feature rich, and it delivers a similar level of optical performance, which is to say outstanding for both of these lenses. At the same time, when you're looking at the value side of things, the Nikkor's been on the market for a while. It goes on sale for very, very generous prices. It can be available in the used market for similar pricing as what the Viltrox is available for, and it gives you the confidence of a first-party lens with first-party performance. At this point, the reliability of this lens is well established. It's been on the market for a while, and it remains a really, really strong performer, even after the, tons of 50mm lenses that I've reviewed across all kinds of platforms. This still is a standout as one of the best, if not the best, 50mm f1.8 lens that I've ever tested. There's really no downside here, truth be told. Both of these lenses are awesome, and I don't think you're making a wrong choice, whichever one that you choose. Maybe you're more comfortable with a first-party lens. Great news. This is a fantastic lens. Maybe you're looking and saying, I want a little bit smaller, lighter. I want those extra features. I love the performance on the Viltrox. Fantastic. It's a great lens. You want more information on either lens, you want to break this down a little bit further, in the description down below, I've got links to both my video and text reviews on both lenses. There's buying links there. So go ahead and peruse that before you make your final decision. But as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and let the light in.